Good afternoon. Welcome to Greensboro, North Carolina, home of Carolina Aircraft. I'm George Johnson, the Bonanza Man, and today we're here to look at a gorgeous 2000 model Bonanza B36TC that's been converted to an IO550 36TC with turbo normalizing. Let's take a look at November 224 Delta Romeo. Look at this beautiful engine. It has Millennium cylinders, turbo Gammy injectors. It's been converted and modified to the B&C standby alternator conversion. It has factory air conditioning and a graphic engine monitor. November 22 Delta Romeo only has 1,240 hours since factory new. This engine is an IO550 Tornado Alley Turbo modified engine with a Whirlwind 2 conversion that only has 380 hours on it since conversion. Now let's talk about the reason that somebody would convert one of these engines. First of all, it gives you 192 pounds of extra gross weight. The airplane remains in the utility category. This engine has a 1,700 hour TBO versus a 1,600 hour TBO. And this engine gives you more power with cooler temperatures, so it has better thermodynamic efficiency. It runs smoother lean of peak than a regular B36TC because it has a balanced air-fuel ratio. The airplane is supposed to have more cylinder life with the Tornado Alley Turbo conversion. It's easier to operate because basically you set your power and forget it. It has an intercooler, and Tornado Alley Turbo says it gives you 10 knots faster cruise speed at altitude on lower fuel burn. So the airplane at altitude is 200 plus knots at let's say 20,000 feet. You have about a 900 nautical mile range, and your fuel burn at maximum cruise is between 16.5 and 17.5 gallons an hour. Or if you want to go to economy cruise, it has a fuel burn of between 13 and 14.5 gallons an hour. November 224 Delta Romeo has a beautiful 3-blade hot prop with only 215 hours since overhaul. Look at this beautiful paint job and polishing job on the prop. You don't see many like this. November 224 Delta Romeo has always been hangared, is in outstanding condition with no damage history. It has a beautiful paint job, and this is original paint. It's Matterhorn white overall with tan and blue stripes. What a gorgeous paint job. The tail on November 224 Delta Romeo is in excellent condition. There are no hail pings, no damage of any kind, and no corrosion. The airplane has wings that are 4 feet longer than a regular Bonanza, and it has more fuel. It has 102 gallons of fuel versus 74 for a normal Bonanza, so it has a longer range and it flies better at altitude. It also has approach flaps, and this airplane is beyond the serial number that would be affected by the wing spar AD. One of my favorite features about the B36TC is the big double cargo doors and club seating. So let's take a look. November 224 Delta Romeo has a beautiful leather interior. Take a look at the condition of the seats. They're in outstanding condition back here. The cabin table with the mahogany trim, the side walls, the windows, and the headliner. The airplane back here looks almost new. It has a very roomy cabin. I'm almost 6 feet tall and about 220 pounds, and I've got plenty of headroom, plenty of elbow room, and plenty of leg room, and the seats are very comfortable with the 5-inch cushion lumbar supports. It's almost like sitting in an easy chair in my living room. One of the features that everyone loves about the B36TC is the flexibility of the cabin with the reversible club seating. Let's take a look. These seats can be folded up out of the way, just this easy, to give you more leg room. If you want to take the seats out, You've got 2 pins on each seat that you simply pull. You don't need any tools. And you can actually take the 2 rear seats out in less than 30 seconds with no tools. In addition, the center seats will turn around forward facing. And you don't need any tools to do that. You pull a pin on the seat track, and this seat comes off and goes on that side. That seat comes off and goes on this side because of the armrest in the middle. And you still have as much leg room as you would in a Bonanza F33A, so it's still very roomy. And then with these 2 rear seats out, you have from here back for cargo. November 224 Delta Romeo has a fantastic instrument panel with lots of great equipment. Let's take a look. Starting on the pilot side, at the top we have the slaving mechanism for your HSI, and then we have a true airspeed indicator, and for it to read true airspeed you set the outside air temperature opposite your altitude. Then we have your artificial horizon, and this has your flight director. As you'll see the flight director come up when I push the button. And then we have an encoding altimeter. On the next row we have your instrument air gauge, and then we have a standby attitude indicator, and then we have your Sandell EFIS 3500 HSI, and this houses your number 1 and number 2 navs and number 1 and number 2 GPSs. And I think you can also put weather on here. It's not set up for traffic, but I think you can also display your traffic on there if you set it up that way. It has an instantaneous vertical speed indicator. On the next row we have a 2-minute electric turn coordinator, and then we have a second HSI. This is the King KCS 55A slaved HSI, and we have it set up so the autopilot will fly either HSI 1 or HSI 2. This is your DME. The airplane has a King KN63 DME with nav 1 and nav 2 switching and DME hold. And since it has XM radio, we have some controls here for your XM radio for your passengers and your pilot. Then the airplane has an EDM 800 graphic engine monitor that monitors all 6 cylinders and also has fuel flow. Now let's take a look at your avionics stack. At the top we have your audio panel, and this is a PMA 7000 MS audio panel with a 6-place intercom system and your 3 light marker beacons. The autopilot is a digital King KFC 225 autopilot with altitude and vertical speed pre-select and yaw damp. Below this is your number 1 NavCom and your number 1 GPS with WAAS. This is a Garmin 530W, and it has WAAS, several different pages. This is your HSI nav page, and then your regular nav page. And then we have a traffic page. It has Mode S traffic. And then we have your storm scope page, and we have XM satellite weather. And then we have your information and your satellite pages, your terrain information and satellite pages. Below this is your number 2 NavCom GPS, and this has a Garmin 430W with WAAS also. And you'll notice we have nav 1, nav 2 map, and then traffic, lightning, XM weather, terrain, and this will show red because we're on the ground, and then your information and your satellite pages. Beside your avionics stack, we have a King KR87ADF, and this has dual frequency displays and dual timers. As you can see, we have had the switch on for 7 minutes and 50 seconds. And below this is your Garmin GTX 330 transponder, and this has your Mode S traffic. November 224 Delta Romeo is equipped with rose and sun visors. These protect the pilot's eyes, but he can also see traffic through them. And look at how clear the windows and windshield are. The windows and windshield are in outstanding condition. They look almost new. Now let's take a look at the pilot's control wheel. In the front we have a mic button or push to talk button. On top we have an autopilot disconnect button and a control wheel steering button. The control wheel steering brings the flight director up in your artificial horizon. This is your electric trim switch. The airplane has electric elevator trim. In the center of the panel we have the control wheel clock, and this doubles as a timer to time IFR approaches. On the right side of the control wheel we have a map light. This puts a light in the pilot's lap, a light in the outside air temperature gauge, and a light in your compass. And then we have a transponder ident button. And then we have a clearance replay switch and a storm scope clear switch. When we push this down, it will replay the last transmission from ATC. When we push it up, it clears your storm scope strikes on your GPSs. If you want a great buy in a Bonanza B36TC that is also turbo normalized, you need to visit Carolina Aircraft in Greensboro, North Carolina, and take a look at November 224 Delta Romeo. This airplane is in outstanding condition with no damage history, beautiful paint job, very nice interior, and very nicely equipped. It has the King KFC 225 autopilot flight director slaved HSI system with altitude and vertical speed pre-select. It actually has dual HSIs that can be used by the autopilot, the number one being a Sandell EFIS HSI, and it's equipped with a complete Garmin avionics package with Garmin 530W with WAAS, 430W with WAAS. It has XM satellite weather and radio. It has a storm scope. It has traffic and terrain and lots of other outstanding equipment. It's also air conditioned and has a hot prop. Visit Carolina Aircraft in Greensboro, North Carolina to see November 224 Delta Romeo, or give us a call at 336-665-0300, and be sure to visit CarolinaAircraft.com to see this gorgeous B36TC and all of our other nice Bonanzas and Barons. Have a great day.